Hey everyone, you're listening to Concentrates with Dr. T, a podcast discussing cannabis science and business. This podcast is published on YouTube and Spotify. Please follow me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Discord. Please like and comment with any questions about cannabis you have. Today on Season 2, Episode 2, we'll be talking about the specific information you'll need to know before you go about starting your own marijuana extraction business. So thank you for tuning in. We'll get started shortly. Since adult use, also called recreational marijuana, became legal in Washington and Colorado in 2012, many business-minded people and cannabis enthusiasts alike have dreamed of starting their own marijuana business. Whatever your motivations for starting a cannabis business, whether fame, fortune, or an altruistic desire to help others, you will face obstacles above and beyond those faced for a typical business. That's what this episode seeks to address. Those challenges and hoops to jump through that are specific to starting a marijuana extraction business. So if you've ever dreamed of owning your own cannabis extraction business, start here for the basic information you'll need to know up front. I've put together 11 tips to get you started on your journey to owning a successful and profitable extraction business for this episode of Concentrates with Dr. T. If you've ever looked into starting a business or have started businesses before, you already know that you'll need to form an LLC, write a business plan, and figure out where your funding is coming from. But even these seemingly straightforward steps can cause massive headaches down the road if not done correctly when it comes to a legal marijuana business. For example, the state where you intend to locate your marijuana extraction business will have specific laws about who can and cannot own a license. If you've been convicted of certain crimes or don't maintain residency in the state you want to locate your marijuana business, you may be disqualified from obtaining a marijuana license. Which brings me to my first tip for starting your own marijuana extraction business. Know the legal landscape. Imagine, you and 3 of your closest friends decide to invest together and start a marijuana extraction business. You dream of being the biggest extract company in your state. And between the 4 of you, you have the ambition, finances, and knowledge to do it. Great. So the 4 of you write your operating agreement, get your LLC registered with the Secretary of State, and now you're off to the races. You begin applying for a marijuana extraction license and come to the section describing qualifications for owners. Only then do you find out that Skylar is disqualified from holding a license because their primary residence is in another state. Now you're left scrambling, trying to figure out how to rearrange the company and get Skylar out without missing your application window. This all could have been avoided by understanding the laws and regulations up front and consulting an attorney before making any final ownership decisions. And if you think that Skylar can just invest through another business of theirs or have their spouse's name on the application instead, think again. Most, if not all, states have provisions for declaring who the true party of interest is. So trying to hide an investor or partner can backfire in a big way in the future. So before you start anything, make sure you have an understanding of the legal landscape and always consult with an experienced cannabis attorney before making big decisions regarding your business, including ownership, business location, and licensing. Tip number 2, decide the kinds of products you want to make. Another key consideration you need to think about early is what exactly are your goals for this marijuana extraction business? Do you want to make dabbable extracts, distillate cartridges, gummies, drinks, tinctures, or something else? Or all of it? Do you want to have space for research and development, or just focus on production? What kind of extraction techniques do you intend to use? How will you purify your extracts? How will you formulate them? How much product do you intend to produce per year? The more specific you can be about your production goals, the easier it will be to make other key decisions, such as choosing where to locate your business and selecting appropriate extraction equipment, which we will get into in a minute. That said, if you are unsure of how to answer these questions, I am available to help you make the best decisions to suit your ideas and goals. Tip number 3, select a suitable location for your marijuana extraction business. Once you understand the legal landscape and have a good idea of the kind of products you wish to create, you can then begin the process of identifying a suitable location for your marijuana extraction business. Since you've become familiar with the legal requirements, you already know that there are specifics about where a business can and cannot be located. For example, most states have restrictions on how close that a marijuana business can be built to a school, a church, or other community center that is likely to host children and families. So that's one problem. Another commonly overlooked roadblock is that many states allow local governments, whether that be cities, counties, or other jurisdictions, to decide whether or not to allow marijuana businesses. Sometimes these restrictions appear suddenly. So without involvement with the community, you might miss signals that a marijuana ban is likely to occur in the future. So it is important to always make contact with your local officials and be involved in town hall meetings and other public comment hearings so that you become aware of any possible restrictions early and can therefore adapt. Finally, once you've selected a locality for your business, you need to ensure that the building will be suitable for its intended use. In the case of a marijuana extraction business, this means that the building must be of suitable construction and design to achieve good manufacturing practices or GMP certification. While GMP certification is not strictly required in most states at this time, eventually it will be. And quite frankly, it is far easier to remain in compliance and operate your business if you are GMP certified than if you are not. I will talk more about do's and don'ts of facility design in a future episode. How you build out and design your facility will depend a great deal upon whether you decide to build a brand new facility or occupy an existing facility. Tip number 4, acquire a state-level marijuana extraction license. Okay, so now you've got a great location that you're really excited about in a friendly local jurisdiction. How will you go about getting permission to operate this company? You will need a state-level license in order to have permission to participate in the medical or recreational marketplace. Generally, there are only 2 ways to obtain a marijuana extraction license. One is to purchase an existing license or business in the state in which you wish to operate. Because there are only a limited number of licenses in each state, this can be a very expensive option, but also very achievable. The other way to obtain a license is to apply for a license directly with the state. However, most states do not have ongoing and open application periods. Therefore, you will have to apply during a small window of opportunity, usually shortly after a state has legalized marijuana for medical or recreational use. While often less expensive to obtain a license in this manner, it is still not cheap. State application fees alone are typically in the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars range. And that's just the beginning of the costs of putting together a viable application. Often hundreds of entities will be applying for just a few dozen licenses that are available, so these are highly competitive. Therefore, you will need a team of people with experience in this industry who are skilled at writing application narratives. The state-level applications will require you to describe in detail exactly how you plan to process cannabis, what kinds of products you intend to create, the exact equipment that you intend to use, and the floor plan of the facility you will occupy with the license, along with electrical, plumbing, security, production equipment locations, safety equipment locations, and many more details. This effort will require architects, attorneys, industrial hygienists, general contractors, project managers, and consultants with experience building and operating cannabis businesses in the past. By the way, if you are starting your own marijuana business and need help putting together such a team, you can reach out to me. So as you can imagine, the cost of applying for a license is significant and will need to be planned for in early stages. Which brings me to my next point. Tip number 5, a word on financing. There was a time when a guy could bootstrap a marijuana business out of his garage, but those times are essentially over. Back in the 90s, when California and then Washington allowed for limited medical marijuana programs, people could start small cultivation and extraction businesses and then scale them as the industry developed. I'm more familiar with the industry in Washington state, so I'll use it as an example. The gray market that came up around medical marijuana in Washington state began because a registered medical patient was allowed to grow a certain number of plants in the privacy of their own home. However, recognizing that not everyone would want to or even could grow their own plants at home, the system allowed for one marijuana patient to transfer their plant growing rights to another on a very informal basis. What ended up happening is that collectives started, which were essentially business establishments where you could go to not purchase marijuana products such as joints, flowers, concentrates, or even gummies, but rather donate at your option to receive these products. Now, it wasn't really optional per se. You had to make the donation to receive the products. But by registering with the collective, you were allowed to donate and then select the products you desired from their storefront. This led to fairly robust cultivation, extraction, and dispensary businesses within the gray market. However, none were extremely large or well known like some of the brands that we see today in adult use markets. When Washington State legalized adult use cannabis in 2012 by voter initiative, the medical marijuana market was given a chance to enter into the new recreational marketplace. This gave a small window of opportunity for these established ma-and-pop medical marijuana businesses to enter the adult use market and have a chance at becoming a major player moving forward. There were a lot of restrictions around this. For example, the businesses had to be able to prove that they were paying their taxes, which many apparently were not. So not many of these small medical businesses really ultimately developed into large recreational powerhouses that we know today. My point in telling this story is that those days are over. Now, most states, when they open a new medical or recreational market, are very careful with how they go about it. And moving forward, I don't see any state opening up new license applications that are not competitive in nature. So if you want to start a brand new marijuana business today, you will require a significant capital investment and cash on hand in order to even hope to be successful. Most individuals do not have this kind of capital or do not typically invest this kind of capital in sole ventures. So it will require investors, and that brings with it all sorts of complexities when it comes to legally funding cannabis ventures. You will need to be able to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a license application alone, along with additional tens of thousands or perhaps more dollars for the team to develop a competitive application package. You will need to be able to pay for architects, engineers, scientists, consultants, attorneys, and many other highly paid professionals. You'll need to be able to purchase a building or renovate an existing one. You will need to be able to purchase all of the equipment and supplies needed to get the business going. An individual piece of industrial-sized cannabis extraction equipment can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000 or more. Finally, you'll need the runway to be able to train and pay employees, obtain raw materials, and pay all professionals and vendors you have for a period of time before revenue overtakes your expenditures. Be prepared for all of this. I can give you more details, and I can also provide you with equipment lists, references to professionals you will need to know, and many more services that can help you navigate through these steps. I tell you this because the cost of these items are all high, and so you want to make sure you are getting the right things and hiring the right people. I have nearly a decade of experience working in legal cannabis marketplaces, and I can help you out with essentially anything you will need. If I can't do it myself, I know somebody who can. That's all I have for you today. Join me next time for part 2. I hope you found this episode informative and even inspiring if you've been thinking about starting your own marijuana extraction business. As you can tell from this podcast, which is just a brief overview of the considerations you'll need to take, there is a lot to opening up a marijuana business. The good news is, if you assemble the right team, most of these headaches will never manifest for you. But the truth is, this is a very expensive business to be figuring things out on your own. You would be wise to hire experienced professionals to walk beside you through this process. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments section or reach out to me directly at the contact information provided. Thank you all for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Peace.